Welcome to the Power of Oxygen First, where we scale your life first so your business can actually breathe. I'm your host, Dot Rock. Oxygen First means you protect your energy first. You build your life first. You take care of your nervous system first. Then you scale. Because success without oxygen, that's just burnout with better branding. Around here, we talk about real leadership, how to hire your peanut butter instead of just doing it all yourself, how to fire with grace when something's expired, no more breadcrumbs, how to grow or go, and how to receive support without apologizing for it. This isn't hustle culture. It's sustainable success. It's leadership with oxygen. So let's pause and take a deep breath. Let's build something that actually feels like home. Well, welcome back to the Power of Oxygen First. Whew, we are at the end of the summer. Dominic goes back to school, and he might be back in school by the time you listen to this podcast, but he goes back to school in 2 days from right now when I'm recording. So our summer went by fast, and 2 surgeries were unexpected, and just really everything about the summer was unexpected. And I am back here in this podcasting chair, really excited for what is coming and what is new. But I want to share a little bit of what happened this summer and what it has shifted in me. So it first started with not too long ago. I was prompted to channel my inner child and the ways that she expressed herself in this world. So naturally, I started reflecting on what little Dorothy was actually like. Now, not sure if you knew my name is Dorothy, but it is. Dot is short for Dorothy, and I went by Dorothy up until high school when we moved to a new town, and the volleyball coach, just called me Dot, and so then everyone learned of me as Dot, the new volleyball player. But until then, I was distinctly Dorothy. And that is what I think of myself as. So, what I do know is that little Dorothy, she was really bold and brave. I know I'm very bold and brave as it is, but I think she was actually bolder. She had less failures, right? So there was less to risk. And so I think it's interesting to just right away know how bold and brave she was and try to channel that within myself now, right? But that little Dorothy, she loved baseball more than anything. Actually, I can't remember loving anything more than baseball and gymnastics, those two things. I was certainly going to be the next Mary Lou Retton. I loved being both a gymnast, but also I loved being the only little girl in the little league baseball league. I played with the boys, and I'm tell you what, I kept right on up. And when I was healthy, which I'm not sure if I've ever shared that on this podcast, how unhealthy I was as a child and how many lung problems I had, but I was sick and in bed a lot. But when I was healthy, in between those long sickness spells, you would find me absolutely running around, running up and down our hardwood hallway that led to our blue couch at the end of the hallway. And I would run full speed and then suddenly flip as many rotations as I could get in and land on the couch, just like it was my gymnastic mats. We couldn't afford gymnastics unless I had won a scholarship. And you bet I did that and won those whenever I was given the opportunity. But in between that, you could just see me practicing gymnastics absolutely everywhere. I loved flipping. I loved being on swings and flipping off of them in the air. And I loved climbing things. I hated dresses nearly as much as I hated wearing my hair down, which is funny because now actually I don't like wearing my hair up because it gets so heavy. Um, but when I was little, it always had to be in a ponytail. Otherwise, it would get in my way or people would touch it. And I didn't like strangers to touch my hair, which people really like to touch curly hair and red hair, right? But little Dorothy, she loved cooking, especially for, I especially loved cooking for my dad. Um, and the only way to get me inside was to cook, that I remember. It's the only thing that sticks out. Of course, the hall gymnastics occurred after dark when I was supposed to be chilling out. But I don't think I had any chill in me. It was all go, or all creating, or all making jewelry to sell door to door. I'd come up with a new idea, a new business. I'd brainstorm every angle of making it happen. I would go work for my dad in his shop so that I could make the money that I needed to get the supplies. And then I would make a lot of jewelry or whatever it was. I loved to create. I loved to embroider and sew, and I did both often. My beloved teachers, Mrs. Freaking and Mrs. Teague, who I had from second grade through fifth grade, they taught me how to embroider. My grandmas and both my great grandmas, they taught me how to sew. And I loved doing those things. I loved making quilts. I loved using my hands. I also played the piano, something my grandma Joan had paid for me to do. And I won state competitions at each level, and I loved my duet partner, Jackie. I remember stating a few things out loud: that I would be a mom, that I would be a celebrity, that I would be a business owner and a writer. And I could see that future very clearly for myself. I loved the outdoors and I loved making forts and hanging out in our treehouse, which was a stack of plywood without rails up high in, I think, an oak tree. I don't even know, because we had a lot of pecan trees and sycamore trees. I think that was an oak tree. But I loved sitting up there and being as close to the stars as I could be. I loved animals and often was found bringing something home. I remember having a possum, a boy and girl baby squirrel. I had the two of them. I found them because I think their mom had died in a storm. I brought home snapping turtles, snakes. I tried to release the raccoons that we often caught at my dad's cabinet shop. And once I found a lab puppy that I hid for days and eventually named Kirby after my favorite baseball player of all time, Kirby Puckett. He was a dream dog, but he died far too young, just a few months later, just like his namesake, Kirby Puckett, dying early. And someday I know I'll have another lab. The little Dorothy, when I think of her, she also loved being in the water and doing flips off of anything into the water. I grew up in Texas in hill country, and of course, there were so many river things to do. And I loved all of those. And I loved trying every sport. It didn't matter. I'm sure if pickleball had existed then, I would have tried it. But back then, it was tennis, golf, riding bikes, being active, moving my body, sometimes just reading about sports. And I had friends everywhere I went. At the grocery store, I made friends with a yogurt stalker that I think that's like the Dannon yogurt stalker, maybe Dannon, Dr. Pepperman, the beer guy, the people that stocked those things, the lady in the bakery, the men in the deli, the produce guys. And I would make my rounds, and I never once made it out of the grocery store without losing my mom immediately and needing to go to the front desk, where the store help speaker was, for them to call over the loudspeaker, "If you are Dorothy Clemens's mom, please come to the front and reclaim her." And yeah, I was full of life, very much like I am now, but I think less inhibited. I love to learn and go to school, and I loved to read. I just would, I loved I don't know, about school, I loved the competition of the gold star collecting of making hundreds. I loved bringing home a stack of books every other day in the summer from the library and reading all of them and winning the reading awards for the most read books. What's interesting about that part of myself is that Dominic has both of those qualities in mind, how much he loves school and reading books. And it's really fun to see him love reading and learning the way that I still do. Um, and when I was a kid, if we traveled, which we were very, very poor, we would go to Port Aransas, Texas. And my dad had like gotten this RV from someone, a customer who didn't pay their bill, and we fully refurbished the inside of it with, he's a cabinet maker, so we redid the inside as much as we could and then like drove this thing. It caught on fire multiple times when I was a kid driving. I mean, it must have been just a piece of crap. But we would do that and go to Port Aransas, Texas, which is this little coastal island off of Texas, which is magical. Um, but if we didn't do that, we would go to Arlington to a Texas Rangers game where my mom was a super fan. And really, she introduced me to baseball at a young age. She also loved football and basketball, but she was clearly like top tier baseball fan. And she would find these insane deals. And we'd drive 4 hours to a weekend of games and a hotel pool. And I think when I go to heaven, that it'll be filled with the things that I love, all the things I just mentioned. But my heaven will likely be at a baseball stadium filled with people I have met and have loved and I've gotten to know over the years. Because if you know me very well personally, I am a collector of meeting people and collecting them from all around the world. And I really think my very own baseball stadium in heaven filled with them would be just so incredible. So sorry, sidetracked. But back to the baseball place. It's my happy place. If I say that, where I want to be someday, my heaven is baseball. Baseball is my happy place. So as I was going through this, remember your childhood self, I realized we could still do a small baseball trip for the summer and fit it in between the last surgery and physical therapy and getting out the final sutures for Dominic. So we decided we could do that because the baseball piece and joy is miraculous to me and to Dominic. We both feel so alive with baseball. And I mean, it can even just turn like a long day into joy at night if we turn on a baseball game and fold laundry or sit there and delete emails. Just to have the baseball game on in the background and do hard things like opening mail, it really makes them easier for me. I love the sound of the bat cracking, that pop a ball makes in the glove. Ooh, the cheers, the crowd working together to generate the wave, the music in the background. And when I hear Center Field by John Fogerty, I think that's how you say it. I can never say it. I feel like I'm in heaven when I hear it, though. Doesn't matter how you say his last name. Becoming an adult seems to take us away from these childlike places from within us. But these things still make my heart happy and at peace, and they still make my son happy and at peace. And when I indulge in any of the things I listed, embroidering, playing a new sport, meeting new people, cooking, reading, that still brings me intense joy. Creating, right? I still love to cook, to read, to meet the people, to talk to them, to be with my friends. I love to sew. I love to have pets. I love to take pets on walks. I love to create. But really, I still especially love baseball. And so Dominic loving baseball has been like the world's largest employee bonus, but a mom bonus. And the fact that he gravitated towards baseball after playing so many other sports, but now loves it most is like winning the lottery. So, since together our happy place is baseball, like I said, we naturally decided we could go to LA because I've told you he was in the cast, he had the surgeries. It was like you got robbed of this proper summer vacation. And it felt like all was lost because our plan was to go to Hawaii and go surfing. Because we didn't do a vacation last year, we saved up, we were ready to do this vacation, and out of luck, doesn't have two arms, we're not going surfing. So, last minute, in mid-July, we decided to go to LA. I know we went a couple years ago, 3 years ago, we went and saw the Dodgers, but we went to LA again. And we decided, I had seen that Kathy Heller, the woman who taught me how to podcast, was having a 2-day event. And I had been dying to go to a work 2-day event. And as it turns out, the Dodgers were playing and the Anaheim Angels were also in town. And that meant we could go to the Angels and check them off of our list. And if you are new to the podcast, Dom and I are trying to go to all 30 Major League Baseball parks. A couple summers ago, we went back east and did both the New York stadiums, the Mets and the Yankees, and we went to Boston to see the Red Sox, and we went to Cooperstown. So we're slowly checking these off our list. So Anaheim Angels had not been checked off the list. And so we went to LA right at the end of July, right when I had a shit ton of work to do. And it felt like all the things were piling up, and I still had to finish my personal taxes and get those off to my CPA. And we went to LA. And man, was it good for our souls. We really had a blast at the Angels. We did go on a tour. We got to go onto the field for batting practice. We got a bobblehead for Dominic that they gave to him. We came home with amazing souvenirs and really full baseball hearts. And they had these rally monkeys that the fans would like carry around and like swing around hollering. And it just made me think of how much we had rallied all summer long with, to rally means to try to come back and win. And we've been doing that all summer. And so those rally monkeys were really special. And then we went to a Dodgers game the next night, and we sat right by the bullpen, which, if you're not a baseball fan, that means right next to where the backup pitchers are warming up. And so you're next to players the whole game. And man, was that magic. And Dodger Stadium has changed so much since we were there 3 years ago, because they won 2 championships in a row. And they have several more players. The food places have changed because of them. And it was just so cool. So, and then we were like, Kiki Hernandez played right in left field, and he was just right in front of us. So I love watching him. He's silly and he just makes it like this playful young sport again, which is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So then I went to a conference and Tom stayed at our hotel and he learned how to use a touch phone, which, kids these days don't know how to do that. Like the first day I left, I was like, "Did you order room service?" And he's like, "No, I don't know how to use that phone." I'm like, "You pick it up and push the button, right?" But he didn't know how to do that. So he learned how to do that. He went to lay by the pool by himself. Obviously, he couldn't swim, one arm, um, and he couldn't get it wet. And he used the gym and he did his workouts. And then we would go to wonderful dinners and he got to sleep in, and it was lovely. So the thing is, he got to do his thing and I got to do my thing. And it shifted both of us We needed to go get out of the normal day-to-day arm effort. It had consumed our summer, our thoughts, our actions. But on vacation, we adventured and we went to the pool and we got to just be together. We got to do happy hours on the rooftop pool together with music in LA, not in Colorado. And before going to LA, the thing is I had a story that honestly I was sick of. I have wanted to go to a work event for years, but for years I have told myself I couldn't. I told myself I was alone. I told myself I was a single mother and I couldn't go to a work conference. And Dom's 13 and a half now. And then suddenly it dawned on me, that's not real anymore. He doesn't want to be around me all day anyways. And I can go to a conference from 10 to 4 each day if it's a few minutes from our hotel. And he can get his sleep in and he can do his workouts and his alone time, his teenage alone time. So we could fill up both of our cups. And so I'm not just a single mom, I am a single mom. And so we did it. And it shifted that in me because I am a single mom, but I'm not alone. I am not lacking. I have superpowers. I have intuition. And I have a team. I do work that I absolutely love and that I'm not behind on. I am right on time. And I remembered me, work me. But I let go of the story that I am a single mom. I'm actually a mom with superpowers who deeply loves her child and her business and does both. I do both with my superpowers, with my team, and most importantly, with my intuition. My intuition guides me as a mom, as a business owner, and as a podcaster. It guides me and it streamlines so very many things for me. And I lean deeply into my team and to the fact that I am a single mom who wants to show up for her son and pick him up and drop him off at school every day and to have a business. It is an and both. And I'm leaning all the way into my team now in a way that I have never done before. And in the next few weeks, even more will be shifted to them. I have some team members that I haven't been utilizing, and they are about to be annoyed by me. And I'm excited about it because I am a single mom, and I say it now in a different way. And I'm proud of being a single mom because now when I think of it, it feels abundant instead of scarce. It feels like I can see the superpowers and the value system that I have that makes everything else line up and be streamlined. Because if it doesn't fit, it is not happening. And that's the whole point. Sometimes we need travel to shift. If everything's not aligning, sometimes we have to pause. And sometimes we have to go back to our childhood favorites that help those things shift us back to our centers. Because in my center is the value that I am available to my child and not gone for work all the time, but that I can do and both. And that it is abundant and not scarce to be a single mother. Sometimes we need things to help us shift, like travel. Sometimes we need to get out of our normal routines and the stories that we've been telling ourselves long enough to realize that they aren't actually true anymore. And sometimes we need to go all the way back to the little kid version of ourselves to remember what has always brought us back to the center. Baseball does that for me. Creating does that for me. Travel does that for me. Cooking, reading, moving my body, talking to strangers, being near water, learning something new, laughing with my kid. And these things aren't frivolous, they're oxygen. And I think somewhere in adulthood, we are treating joy like something we can earn after everything else is done, after the inbox is empty, after the business is running perfectly, after I figure out how to do another launch, after all the laundry is folded. By the way, outsource that. And after everyone else is okay, after the hard season is over, like this arm situation. But what if joy is actually one of the things that helps carry us through the hard season? The summer was hard. I would not choose the surgeries or the pain or the fear of watching my child lose 2 seasons of baseball, 2 seasons of doing what he loves. I would not choose sitting in those surgery waiting rooms alone again. But I can tell you where my joy is. I can tell you joy is all around. There were rally monkeys. There was Kiki Hernandez being ridiculous in left field. There was room service and hotel pools. And there was a 13-year-old discovering perhaps the greatest luxury available to a teenager is ordering food from a hotel room without his mother. There was baseball and there was adventure and there was remembering that I am still me and that maybe that is what you should take away from this episode. What I am taking is that every time I say I'm a single mom, I now stand up stronger and prouder because, yes, I'm a single mom and I have superpowers. So you do not have to wait until life gets easier to come back to yourself. You don't have to earn joy. You don't have to finish everything first. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to start showing up more on social media because I'm giving myself permission to show up and not be perfect. And you don't have to believe every story that you've been carrying just because you've carried it for a long time, like I did. So, because of all this, I'm going to leave you with a couple of oxygen first journal prompts or walking meditation prompts, your choice. But the first one is, who were you before you started editing yourself for adulthood? What did little you absolutely love? What made you lose track of time? What did you create? How did you play? Where did you feel most alive? And here's your second prompt. Most importantly, where could you bring a little bit back of that person into your life now? Right now. Not someday. Not when work slows down or when everybody stops needing you. What about this week? Buy the baseball tickets. Go swim. Pull out the sewing machine. Make that weird. Take the little trip. Play the loud music too loud. Way too loud. Cook something simply because you want to. Bake brownies without a recipe. Find one thing that little you would look up at you and say, "Oh, thank God, we still do that." And finally, my last thought, because this is what shifted so much for me. Is there a story you're telling yourself that is holding you back, but you could shift it? Mine was that I am a single mom. And now, hell yes, I am a single mom with superpowers. Because the thing is, putting on your oxygen mask first isn't always about rest. Sometimes it looks like joy. Sometimes it looks like adventure. And sometimes it looks like remembering who the hell you were before you got so serious. And sometimes, apparently, it looks like sitting next to the Dodgers bullpen with your kid and realizing, I am not behind. I am right where I'm supposed to be. I am not lacking. I am not alone. I am right on time. And I'm still me. And we can still rally with the best of them. This conversation reminded you that you don't have to do it all alone. That's your cue. Go download the free Support and Breathe Return on Investment Calculator at rockconsulting.com. It's a quick, slightly eye-opening way to see how much time, money, and energy you could reclaim with the right support. And remember, support does not always mean hiring. Sometimes it's a simple ask. Sometimes it's a boundary. And sometimes it's finally letting someone be your peanut butter. If something in this episode resonated, please come tell me. I'm on Instagram at @._rock_, and I genuinely love hearing what lands for you so I can create more of them. And remember, your energy is your greatest asset. Protect it, invest in it, and always put on your oxygen mask first. I'll see you next week.